Welcome, everybody, to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, today joined by a good buddy of mine, somebody who is on the other side of the series that we are all watching. Matt Moore of the Action Network is here. Somebody, I don't know, man. You texted me as soon as the Wolves and Lakers played and the Lakers were getting ready for the Grizzlies. You texted me all of the bets that you were looking at if you didn't actually file them, betting on the Lakers this upcoming postseason, knowing the path that they had ahead of them. And then the game happened, and unfortunately John Morant happened. We'll talk about that here in a bit as well. So you were pretty confident about the Lakers going in. I don't know how much of that was cynical confidence because the NBA does stuff for the Lakers, but but generally speaking, you were pretty confident in the Lakers, and then I would imagine that confidence was pretty much confirmed, though, right?
I mean, yeah. I think more from the standpoint of, a lot of things went Memphis's way. Jaren didn't get in foul trouble, and the Grizzlies' half-court offense wasn't bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. And the Lakers still won. And that's like really promising for them, right? Like, I don't know if the half court offense is going to be as good. I don't know if the shooting is going to be as good. I'm not necessarily, there's this idea, like Memphis is definitely pushing the idea of like, well, that was a Rui Hachimura outlier game. And I'm like, Rui's good, guys. I don't know if he just like did not like, it's fine that you didn't pay attention to the scouting report when he played Washington. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like Rui was good in Washington. Like from the minute that I saw Rui in preseason, I was like, oh, Rui leveled up. And then like started the season, I was like, oh, Rui's like good now. Like Rui's polished and looks physical. And so like now that was this performance probably his best of the postseason. There's like a, I don't know, 80% chance that that's probably his best game of the postseason.
Yeah.
But like
I'd maybe up that a little bit, but yeah.
But like, there's like also 20% chance it's not, and it's also one of the things where, if you're going to win, you're going to need contributions like that. And this is one of the problems with Memphis is like, they don't have guys like that. Like they don't have guys that like Santi Aldama is not going to drop 25. That's not going to happen. Zaire Williams is definitely not going to drop 25. David Roddy is not going to drop 25 points. Like Memphis doesn't have any of those guys. So I'm like not surprised in terms of that outcome. I think the Lakers continue to have a big advantage. And like one of the things that I thought was, Memphis can't go small because Brandon Clark's out. So they can't put Jaren at 5 and Brandon Clark at 4, which is their best lineup. They'll have to play Santi there, and it's not quite as good because they won't have the offensive rebound advantage. I thought the Lakers would be able to just like go big in that situation and play Vando. And Vando was fine and really dominate on the offensive glass and like out-muscle them. And Davis out-muscled them because it's AD. But more kind of specifically is like the Lakers then were able to be like, because we don't have to deal with your physicality, we can just space the floor more. And if you put AD and LeBron and floor spacers, that's a recipe that actually looks like 2020. And so like that to me was kind of the outcome there is that Memphis's specific roster vulnerabilities combined with their injuries open the door for the Lakers to be able to play like a version of themselves that's closest to the best.
Yeah, I think, going into the series, I said it, and Keith and I talked about it on the show. I tweeted it out. Also, I brought it up with Aaron. I said that this series is really going to come down to Jaren Jackson Jr., how long he's able to stay on the court, how productive he's going to be while he's out there on the court. And in those games that he's able to play close to 40 minutes, Memphis is going to look good. It's going to be competitive, and I still think the Lakers are better because the stuff that they can bring off of the bench is better than Memphis's. But as evidenced by like Rui or whatever. But that's what made this game on yesterday, all the more kind of intriguing to me. Being somebody who bet on the Lakers winning in 5. In that was the Jaren Jackson game. That was about as good as Memphis can realistically hope for from Jaren. Not saying it's not repeatable, not saying he isn't talented because he is, but they got everything that they could have wanted from him. Starting with availability, staying on the floor as long as he needed to, and the Grizzlies looked like a completely different team while he was out there. He played incredibly well. I was thoroughly impressed by what he brought to the table there. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get that specifically from him. Not counting like how great he looked, but I think the Lakers are going to make some adjustments to get some guys dribbling downhill more at him. I thought Memphis, the best thing they did defensively was really wall off the interior. Like every time he was contesting, it was on his terms. It was against somebody who was off balance because their drive to the basket wasn't a straight line drive. And the more that Memphis was able to do that, the longer he's able to stay on the floor. I just think that the Lakers have enough on-ball creativity that it's kind of tough to replicate exactly that. The one thing that they lack is, like Schroeder is the only guy who can go out there in isolation and get around somebody. He doesn't require a screen. LeBron can't turn the corner on Brooks. D'Angelo Russell isn't a turn the corner athlete. Neither is Austin Reeves. Those guys, kind of require pick and rolls. But I do kind of think the Lakers are going to more effectively get some of those guys downhill so that when they meet Jaren Jackson, it's more on their terms than it was in game one. But, even there, like Memphis is really effing good on the perimeter. Like they have really good defenders out there, and it's going to be tough to pull that off. The jaw stuff is a real bummer. It really sucks. He already had that hand bandaged before the game and stuff. And then he takes, he drives to the basket. AD takes a charge, or whatever you want to call it. And now the conversation is, well, charges need to be banned altogether because Ja got hurt and because Giannis got hurt. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I'm pretty anti-charge as it is. But I think the bigger problem is that you have, without hand checking and with how much space these guys have on the perimeter, they are fucking flying into the rim when they finally get there. And that's where you're seeing these crazy collisions and stuff. And I think that's more dangerous than the charge call itself. But yeah, it looks like Woj is reporting that Ja won't be available for game 2. It's a real bummer. It sucks. This series already is happening with Memphis shorthanded, but this really, really blows if Ja isn't able to go. What chances do you have? What chances do you give to Memphis if he misses a game or two?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. They've done really well when Ja hasn't played. They play different. Ja makes them. Ja can win you a game with a Ja game. Like that's the thing that he can do. But the Grizzlies have a number of ways to win without him. Like the starting point in all this is just like you got to play better defense. And I don't know what you can do versus AD because he's AD, and if he's in this kind of zone, then he's difficult to stop. I think some of it you talked about, like the guards. Like honestly, a lot of this is I understand why Jenkins was like, no, we believe in Xavier Tillman. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, you tried, and now we can be done with that. And we can just go small. Like they just need to go small. Yeah. And then you just switch everything because I will take Dennis Schroeder and D'Angelo Russell versus switch coverage versus Memphis any day of the week. Like no problem there. Like have at it, guys. That's that. If y'all taking shots is exactly what Memphis wants. If AD doesn't have the ball and if LeBron doesn't have the ball and if Reeves doesn't have the ball, that's a win for Memphis. And like realistically, Memphis's defense was like well below par for like what they're capable of. Like this is one of the best defensive teams in the league, and it has been all season. So that's not to say that like the Lakers don't present problems. They obviously do. I picked them in the series, but the Lakers were absolutely they were inferno in that game. And that's not really the profile of the Lakers. Like even since the trade deadline, it's been their defense that has really boosted them. And it's like, hey, we went from like a pretty shitty offense and a pretty shitty defense, and now we have like a
pretty good offense and a really good defense.
And like a not bad offense, right?
Yeah.
Kind of Cleveland-ish, if you're gonna get into it. And then this was like elite offense, elite defense. Actually, it was really just elite offense and kind of like defense. So like I think Memphis can win game 2. They'll be motivated. Guys step up when a guy's out. It's backs against the wall. Nobody believes in us stuff. You'll have a game where like either Bane goes nuts or Dillon hits a few shots. It's not going to happen over the course of the series. Again, Lakers are going to win the series. they can get through one. The problem is like they can't get through like three, right? So if John misses 3 games, then this could be 5. I kind of still think, I don't know, there is, I am of the belief that it is rare in situations where it's not a 1-8 or a 2-7, and this would be a 7 over a 2. It's rare that like game 1 in an emphatic fashion is like indicative of like the entire series. These teams are probably very close with the injuries, and I don't know, like I would probably still pick the Lakers fully healthy, but I don't know if I bet it. So like I tend to think that this series is probably going to go long. I think there'll be twists and turns, and like to be perfectly honest with you, it's like, oh no, John Morant, what an unfortunate injury. It's like I'm just like, okay, so what unfortunate injury is befalling the Lakers, because this is this Lakers team. And
for a little while, Anthony Davis couldn't move his right arm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the jaw thing is interesting. I didn't want to go so far as to say like Memphis is more dangerous than with anything like that. I think a little too much was made in the last, especially last year, of like Memphis's record without Ja. But that said, down the stretch of that game, you mentioned the Lakers kind of meh defense, right? And I think Ja, obviously insanely good player, obviously insanely entertaining player, obviously the ceiling raiser for Memphis, that if he has a jaw game, Memphis is really hard to beat. But I do kind of think with the way that the Lakers were able to defend him, and whether the hand thing was playing a role in some of this, Ja, wasn't able to really get it going in that game. And I thought that kind of, and clearly Memphis was trying to get him going, but when Tyus came in there, and when there was more of a focus on the shooting, that was actually when I was a little bit more nervous about what Memphis could do. I think Luke Kennard led the way in plus minus in that one, and he only went 1 of 4 from 3-point range. So, like, if to your point about, and this is what this was what made me nervous against Minnesota when Gobert was out, was the way to beat the Lakers defensively is to force LeBron, say, to care about a shooter, right? The way to beat the Lakers is to move him, or have his guy set enough picks on the weak side that eventually you go, pass, corner 3-pointer, and somebody's wide open down there. And if that's Luke Kennard, if that's Tyus, if that's Dylan Brooks, and he has it going one night, then that's where Memphis can really take advantage of some stuff. No jaw also makes it difficult to play Jared Vanderbilt, because defensively there isn't really somebody to put him on, and he's a big part of the Lakers' defensive identity. So yeah, I'm with you in that it can work for a game. I think long term you obviously want Ja, but for a home game where the crowd is really going to have it going, if they hit a couple 3-pointers here early, it has a chance to really snowball on a Lakers team that has taken teams for granted. Like, we've seen them, even after the All-Star game, lose some really stupid games to, like, say, Chicago. And I could see that kind of happening here in game 2.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I would say probably like right now, my inclination is that the Grizzlies win game 2 close. Wow, what a heroic effort. They really turned around the Lakers. Lakers win games 3 and 4, and it's 3-1. And then the Grizzlies come back, and probably Ja's back in that game. Maybe we'll see. Ja's back in that game, and they win game 5 to extend it. And it's like, oh, all the pressure's on the Lakers, and then the Lakers wrap it up in 6. Like, that to me seems like the most likely outcome here. I don't necessarily think that the Lakers are good enough to be like, we're just that much better than you that we can win in 5 or a sweep. Now, one of the X factors here is like Ja's comments are concerning on a number of levels, not only to reveal how hurt he is, but also like he's down, right? He talks about like it's one thing after another, and I'm like, well, no, Ja, like you went to a strip club and you pulled out a gun on Instagram. That's not bad luck.
You're threatening the finish line employees.
Yeah, your mom got into a tiff at a store and she called you, and then you came down there and threatened to beat up a kid. Like, these are choices.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing as bad. I made this comment to our mutual friend, Kirk Henderson, that in a Slack that while I've never engaged in that kind of behavior, one thing I can say is like I remember being young and thinking that all of the bad decisions that I made were bad luck.
Yeah.
Like I remember doing that,
Yeah.
being like, man, I just cannot catch a break.
Yeah.
Trouble at work and all these things. And it's like, yeah, because you were 20 minutes late for work because you were hungover, dipshit. Like, don't go out. What do? You have work.
Yeah.
So like these kind of things when you're young, I'm not necessarily surprised at for that view. But more implicitly here is if they get down, I don't know that Memphis this year has enough in it to be like, we're going to rally backs against the wall. They had a real fighting spirit last year, and the villain thing takes it out of you.
It does.
Like
LeBron said it in Miami that when he did the full Heatles thing and he said like that isn't him. That took a lot out of him to just kind of hear the entire league hating you on a nightly basis.
Anybody really, like nobody like really enjoys
Draymond
being because like Draymond is beloved by like his community.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, like everyone else can hate him, but there he's loved. And it's not that the fans of Memphis have turned on the team, but it's more just a matter of that whole. It's also different when it's like you're the villain because you're good and you talk trash versus like you're the villain because like
you've decided to be the villain.
Yeah, and like so. I just think that's taken a lot out of them and the injuries. Like there's just like a lot going against them right now. And it would be very easy for them if they fall down 3-1 to be like, just not our year, man. Like this, we just don't have it. And once teams know that they don't have it, it's over.
I thought that was pretty clear in the end of the game.
Yeah.
Where it was like a 6-point game. And then all of a sudden it was a 14-point game with some, turnovers and some guys not getting back on defense. I don't know. That was part of the math that I was doing on this series as it was heading in was like, eventually you reach a point where there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
Like there is that Memphis has had a freaking year, Jaren Jackson starts the year coming off of injury, off of off-season surgery. And there's some continuity stuff that's going on there. Obviously John Morant has his stuff going on. Dylan Brooks has been Dylan Brooks all season long. And eventually, Steven Adams has missed a whole bunch of times. So it is, sometimes you just have these years from hell. And some of it, like you're talking about the villain stuff, is kind of brought upon them by them. But there's all, when you add injuries to that and you add off-court immaturity to that, it does kind of stack up on you.
So, look, I'll say this, though. This is a good test for the Lakers, right? If, like, they are the title contender that they are being treated as, and I don't know that it's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. This is a good test for them. Because if we do say, like, you and I think the Lakers were going to win the series, which means that they're better than the 2 seed. And if that's the case, then it's like, all right, you've got a team that you have tactical advantages on that's injured, that's down bad, and just suffered another major injury. Like, you have an opportunity here to put this away. And so, like, you get to kind of find out, like, are the Lakers that good? Or are they a team that, like, still is like, yeah, even with all that, it's still going to be like a longer series because the Lakers' margin for error just isn't that big.
Yeah. Yeah, or they aren't able to take advantage of decreased margins for error on the other side.
Right.
Yeah. Like that was what made me nervous about the way that the Minnesota game played out was Minnesota had all that stuff kind of, it all kind of Harrison and I talked right after the game and I heard it a lot from other people who cover the Lakers from my side of things. And it was like, well, LeBron didn't even play that well down the stretch. And they didn't get anything from Reeves and they didn't get anything from D'Angelo Russell. And they were still able to win that game ugly. And it was like, well, but like they still, they were playing against a team that had to overcome, I think, a lot more than that. And that made me nervous coming out of it. And that's why, like, the way that the game played out Sunday between the Lakers and Memphis did make me feel a little bit better. Like when Ja went down, had Memphis go on a run when he went down and had the Lakers, like, had it taken right to the last possession to win that game, I'd still be kind of sitting here like, that is not the result it was a result I was hoping for. It wasn't the process that I wanted to get there through. But they did kind of put them away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I give them credit for that.
Yeah, I think you have to. And like, look, as much as like, all right, the pressure's higher now because you have expectation. I think on the other side of it is everything is breaking right for them, and it's just game one, and it's the game one of this series, but it's game one of the other series as well. But like, look, like Phoenix is no longer undefeated with Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're beatable. They're human. Yep. They bleed blood. On the other side,
we texted about that series, by the way. I told you I took Phoenix in that one because I thought the odds were way out of whack there. I think everybody was way too. I get it because the Clippers have been the Clippers now for a few years, but despite new ownership and stuff. But that was, I think it was like 375 or 400 for the Clippers to win that series. That was insane.
I took them plus 2.5. They only got to get one more win for me, so that's
mm-hmm.
happy about that. I think on the other side of the bracket is the Warriors, and this is my kind of take is like this series is probably going to go long because they lost that game one. They couldn't steal it. The Warriors are going to have to play Steph and the starters like 40 plus minutes.
Yeah.
And so like they're going to be tired by the second round. So again, like another opportunity here. If Memphis goes like falls apart and just can't get themselves together, and the Lakers do take care of this series in 5 or 4, if they just like dominate this team, they could be rested going against a Warriors team that had to go the distance with the Kings and is already exhausted, and that paves the way to a conference finals. Like, yeah, there's a real opportunity here. Things are breaking the Lakers' way.
Not just that Warriors team would have to go the distance with the Kings with their core, with their core rotation of like 6 guys you trust, but that playing style in that series is bananas.
Yeah.
I was watching that game, Saturday night, and it's just insane how fast everybody is flying around the court in that one.
The Warriors defense fell apart in the second half, mostly because they were just like, can you just please just slow down? Just De'Aaron, Fox, just slow down. We're very old. Just slow down for a second.
It's a scene from Superbad where the cop is like throwing him. He's the fastest kid alive. I want to talk how with the conversation about charges and stuff. I'm going to write about this for Substack. There is this notion of like banning the charge because it is not a basketball play, and that these guys, it's a dangerous play on the perimeter. If you have a player step into somebody's landing area, it is a flagrant foul in some cases, and yet in the paint, standing into landing areas is incentivized with guys who are flying from a lot higher, a lot faster. I kind of understand the stance of banning the charge. I think it needs to be kind of scaled back. But where do you stand? Where do you stand on that?
I think they just need to let guys play defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to deter a lot of this. Is if you can play defense on the perimeter. If they let guys play defense on the perimeter, you're not going to have line drives by these guys at that speed. Personally, I am of the it's not a basketball play. No, I wouldn't even say that. It's the lamer of all basketball plays.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you, the injury stuff doesn't bother me as much. And the reason is because with all of the load management and everything else, I'm just like, guys are going to get hurt. What do you want? Like, this is sports. This is how it goes. Guys,
the thing about the injury angle on this is, okay, you want to ban the charge because guys might get hurt, but you're going to take that collision, which is taking place kind of on the ground, and you're going to move that into the air every time.
Yeah,
and guys are going to be safer that way. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's like a more exciting play. But like, let's just be real clear about this. Like, Ja has always played a style of play that has made me wince and hold my breath. Like from the moment that he stepped on the court for Memphis, like I've always been like, I just don't know how this kid's knee is not going to explode from how he lands. He used to land on one leg, and I was just like, Ja, like, your body's not supposed to absorb that contact. Like it's one of the reasons why Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid constantly fall down despite being bigger than everybody else. Is it's like the safest way to cushion the blow. Yeah. I wish they wouldn't, because I think it's horseshit. But like, it's one, going to draw a foul, and 2, better for the body, according to like experts. Apparently, Doc Rivers disagrees, but it's Doc.
His name
So,
is
like,
Doc, dude. Like, how are you
fair
not going to
point.
trust a doctor?
Fair point. I don't have a medical degree. So I don't necessarily worry about it from the injury standpoint because I'm just like, guys are going to get hurt. I want to see guys contest in the air. And if you're like, that's more dangerous, I don't necessarily disagree. But if you combine it with the ability to actually defend on the perimeter, you're just going to see less of these kind of instances. Like, I am just of the opinion that it's a lot bothers me with where the league is at, and I don't like being that guy. Like, I want to be positive, but these scoring numbers are not real.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they're just not. These are not the best scorers per game in NBA history. No, I'm sorry, sir. That's not accurate. And when we look at it, like, so much of it is attributable to the increase in free throw rate. And I'm just like, can we just let guys defend? Like, can we just, this is supposed to be a game where, like, one side tries to score and the other side tries to stop them. Yeah. And you need to let the side trying to stop them have a chance at this versus where the league has gotten to.
Well, it's not just, that the defense, like, defenders aren't allowed to defend, but they especially aren't allowed to defend on the perimeter. And then when you get to the interior, guys are just allowed to hack. Like, that's just, if you're 6'6" and up, you get a completely different whistle from everybody who is not built like that.
Yeah, and if you're a big posting up a guard, I don't know, 6 to 7 times out of 10, you're going to draw an offensive foul.
Yeah.
If you're a big posting against a big, it's not even no blood, no foul. It's like, unless you are on the floor in a pile, in like a puddle of your own blood with a chalk outline.
Especially with like doubles. You see these doubles come over and guys are just hacking. Like, guards just come over and just like Patrick Beverley, I'm pretty sure has thrown a punch or two that people just don't acknowledge in those spots. And it's just like, that, how are you going to defend, referee that way and then that way? They need to be evened out.
And you got in his way when he was driving. That's a foul. Yeah. What? Point. So, like, I don't consider the charge to not be a basketball play because I do think that there's something, like, you're sacrificing.
Like, trampling people isn't a basketball play either.
And, if you're like, if you're a player that doesn't have the verticality ability and you're just like, I can't physically get up there, but that's part of this, right? It's like, if you can't do it, you can't do it. We have things about that in all sorts of things in the game where it's like, well, I'm not a shooter. Well, then you're going to be a liability on offense. If you can't space the floor and you can't create for others, you're a liability, no matter how good you are defensively. And on the other end, it should be true. Like, there should be drawbacks for these types of things, but we've made it to where players that don't have I think Kyle Lowry at this point is a good example of this. Kyle Lowry doesn't have a lot that he brings to the table defensively anymore because he's got no more lateral speed. Yeah. Like, Kyle was an amazing defender in his prime. That was 5 years ago. Like, all he can do now is take charges. And that, to me, is when we're just like, okay, let's, like, we should optimize what people not only what people want to see, but like what the game by the people that play it is supposed to be about. And most of them will admit, like, no, this is not how we're supposed to play. Yeah.
Yeah. The scoring in the regular season is completely out of whack. Yeah. And it's cool, like, and it's clearly something that the league has tried to do to get interest back into the regular season is Luka just dropped 55 and 14 and look at all this stuff. Never mind the fact that he did so like 20 shots at the free throw line, but it was so much fun to watch, except it really wasn't. All right. I only have a little bit more time here with you. I'm almost positive nobody stayed up for Denver, Minnesota after the Clippers and Suns game last night, and Sunday night by the time you guys are listening to this. And I really think that Denver sent an important message there, as much as a game can send a message. All year, they were clearly the best team in the conference. The last month of the season, they just kind of loafed around. They didn't look very good. Jokic has, I still say, the worst poker face in the league. If he doesn't care, he really doesn't care. You saw it My favorite moment in last night's game was Mike Malone puts him back in when they're up 30, and he immediately tries, like, just goes out there and tries to foul out. They challenge a call to get him back into the game, and he's just like, guys, what are we doing? So I really think that, Denver, you say that there's a path here for the Lakers, and maybe there is some of that kind of mental edge that LeBron and AD might have over Denver. But I think far and away right now, Denver is still the best team in the conference, and they look insanely dangerous in ways that like I was a little nervous about them against Phoenix, but I'm not. That doesn't worry me at all anymore. So, like, what did you see from Denver? Are you with me on me saying that I would actually put them as a title favorite right now?
For the conference, they probably should be favored just because Phoenix is so unproven and those kind of things. But like, we do this where we overreact to game one, and then by game four, the context of the series looks different. I don't know that Minnesota can play worse than they played last night. I've seen the Wolves play some really bad
Cat's
games.
like, hold my beer.
Yeah, I've seen some really bad games. That was one of the worst. Like, they were unorganized. They were undisciplined. They were rattled. They had no composure, which is typical for them. It was bad all over. They couldn't hit shots. Like, this is a lot of it. They couldn't hit shots. The thing about Denver, I think, is we saw the 4 seed loses to the 5, unproven Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Other guys look bad. The others were really bad in that game, including Chris Paul being another. The 3 seed Kings got a awesome win.
Mm-hmm.
Feel good, incredible. You're also the 30 seed, and you barely snuck out a win versus the Warriors, who can't win on the road.
Yeah.
The 2 seed Grizzlies get stomped by the Lakers. The Nuggets were the only top team in the conference to look
that looked like it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they took it, and like, look, I was skeptical going in. I said they're gonna have to show me, like they're gonna have to prove it to me, and they still do. Like, I can't be like, oh, you did it for one game, good job. It's like, no, you got to do it 3 more times.
Yeah,
you should sweep this team. But when we did the series preview, I did with Adam Mars over on Locked On Nuggets. Like, one of the things that we talked about was this isn't a tactical matchup advantage series. Like, the Lakers have a huge advantage on Memphis because they have no front court. They're playing they're starting Xavier Tillman, and they have no backup center.
And they have to go to Aldama.
Yeah,
like,
they have to go Sandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Nuggets don't have that here. There's no like tactical advantage. Jade McDaniels being out helps. Nas Reed being out helps. But like the Wolves have 2 bigs that they actively are staggering them in the non-Jokic minutes. They put Cat and Gobert together versus the non-Jokic minutes and lost them last night.
Yeah.
Which is, again, very bad on the Wolves. But there's no like matchup. Like, Kyle Anderson presents issues. Anthony Edwards presents issues. And Denver last night was just like, no, we're better. Like, we are significant. We are several tiers above you.
Yeah.
Like, you play bad, but like you could play better, and
it won't matter. We
have distance because we're just simply better than you. And this is something that I had to learn. And like last year's Wolves Grizzlies actually was a good example of this, where I bet the Wolves plus 2.5 in that cash because they hung in that series. I knew that they would win 2 games, and that was the bigger bet. But I also bet them to win the series because I was like, they have such a big matchup advantage. But ultimately, what matters in deciding who wins the series is matchups can decide 2 evenly matched teams. Like, if you're within the range, one team can be a little bit better, but if you got the matchup advantage, you can get past them. What you can't do is you can't be like, we have a great matchup and the other team is way better.
Yeah.
That better team is still going to win. And so Denver, it was what Denver needed to do to start. I talked to the veterans last night because I've been asking them all year, like, hey, just want to check in because you guys keep saying that you can do this, where you can defend. And I'm just like, when? Because you're not defending like at all. Like, you did for a couple months, but like, are you sure that you can do this? And they kept being like, yeah, no, we know we can do. Like, we're good. We got it. And then last night I was like, you kept telling me, and they're like, that's why I kept telling you that, because this is what we can do. So they managed.
I wasn't sure Minnesota was going to get to 70 or 80 points last night. That was
now look, if this is just like where the Wolves are in complete disarray, and they probably will turn the series around at some point and make it competitive to some degree. But even if this is like where the Wolves are, that's not great for Denver because you never want this first round to be too easy. When it's too easy, then it gets to the second round and you're like, oh shit, this is what a real playoff series is like.
Yep.
So there's ups and downs to this, but all you can really do is handle what's in front of you. And Denver approached it, at least Denver approached it mentally and emotionally with the right tone in game one.
Yep. All right, let's get you out of here with this. Is there anything in particular that you want to plug there at the Action Network? They've already done some incredible work here previewing these series. I followed you guys throughout March Madness when it was that time of the year as well. But is there anything in particular that you want everybody to check out?
Yeah, download the app. It's a great way to check in all sorts of great information on the Action Network app. You can check out Buckets, my daily betting podcast. Got lots of deep dive information on that, on all the series. Lots of cool stuff to check out. So make it check it out on the Action Network app.
All right, that is going to do it here for my time with Matt Moore, again, of the Action Network. Always fun to chat with you, man. Thank you very much. I know you're swamped right now. I hope Jaw is healthy so that, like, when I give you shit about this series in Vegas, it won't just be with that as a disclaimer.
You can go ahead because I think Jaw or no Jaw. I think your Lakers are good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.